Every Israeli, left, right, center, religious or religious, wants peace. For 2,000 years, we have been hounded and pogroms and persecuted. And we're in our own country, and we want some quiet. We create, we do, we build, we invent. It's an unbelievable place. Anybody who's been here has seen the vibrancy and how exciting it is. And it hurts us that we have to have a strong military, that we constantly have to be with the guns at the ready and protecting ourselves, and we live in a really bad neighborhood. It's something that I didn't understand until I lived here, because in the United States, you've got those big ponds on either side, Canada and Mexico to the north, to the south. There's that sense of someone is out to get me and he's right on the other side of the street. And here it's very different. And so many Israelis wanted to believe that about the land for peace, that they were angry with us for land that they feel we took from them in '67. And therefore, in order to appease them, maybe perhaps that's a better word than peace, we needed to give them that land, and then they would give us peace. Now, it turns out, however, as I mentioned at the beginning, that the Nakba, what they talk about, their catastrophe, is not '67, it's '48. It's the creation of Israel, which is a dead giveaway that their problem isn't the Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, their problem is the Jews in Tel Aviv. So that's one big, they kind of tipped their hand there. And other statements that they've made, like in crossword puzzles, the clue is, occupied Palestinian city, and the answer will be Haifa, which is on the coast of Israel, been Israel since 1948. So if we were only listening, we would hear what they're saying, is that there is no price that we can pay for peace that will actually give us peace, except to be completely eradicated. And suicide is totally against halakha. It's completely against Jewish law. You're not allowed to do that. It's also stupid, but you're not allowed to do that. And so while we've tried to fool ourselves into looking west and not looking east and seeing who in our immediate neighborhood, because we consider ourselves part of the West, it's a dangerous thing to do. We see what's going on in the Arab world and the way they treat their own people. So why would we expect to be treated any better than they treat their own people? So Israelis it was kind of like cooking a lobster, like slowly. And so we signed this agreement with an arch terrorist, which was maybe the biggest mistake of all, with Yasser Arafat. And then buses started blowing up, and we were told, well, it's the Islamic Jihad that's blowing up the buses, and they're also against the peace process. So if we stop it now, we've given in to the Islamic Jihad, and all kinds of mind games. And these people were sacrifices for peace. These people weren't sacrifices for peace. These people, Jews and Christians and sometimes Muslims, were killed by the enemies of peace, And there's a line in the prayers that we say for those of your listeners who understand Hebrew, Hashem oz la'amo yiten, Hashem yivarech et amo b'shalom. God should grant his people strength. God will give his people peace. It's a fascinating sentence, because it says that peace only comes when you're strong, when no one's going to mess with you because you're strong. Because the Middle East is like a jungle, and if you show any sign of weakness, they're going to come. That's it. That idea of peace, the Isaiah idea of peace, of beating the spears into plowshares, that's a crazy idea. Nobody in that time period, they probably thought he was eating funny mushrooms. Who wanted peace? You conquered, you took the land, you took the water, you took the women, you took the resources, and you moved right along. That idea of peace for its own sake is rooted in the prophets, in the Jewish prophets. And so it's not a new thing, but we're only going to get it if we're so strong that they're not going to mess with us. And the fact that we came home after 2,000 years is, I think, if anybody's looking for a sign of God, no matter what religion you are, the fact that the Jewish people survived, they were speaking Hebrew again. They were back in our language. We revived a dead language. It was just a language of prayers. No one spoke Hebrew. No one ordered a pizza in Hebrew. And now we're doing that. And we went from being hounded into gas chambers into being maybe qualitatively the strongest army in the world. How did that happen? All these things are miracles. All these things, to me, show the hand of God. I feel every single day that I'm living a miracle. I think about Zechariah, the prophet Zechariah's prophecy of the old men and old women sitting in Jerusalem with their canes and the children playing in the street. I see that every single day. That's what gives me the strength to do this, because I'm part of something so big that it's sometimes hard for me to comprehend how big it is. And it hurts me so much that most of the world does not get it. And they're fooled by the terminology of peace, but it's not peace. And so they're using our words, and they're using our democracy and our openness against us. 9/11 is a classic example of that, and it hurt America. We have to be so careful. We have to understand who we're up against and what the end game is.
You just learned a portion of the truth about the world's most volatile region, the world's most demonized country, and the 2,000-year hatred of a people that have survived despite the odds. From studying history, it's very clear that what starts with the Jews never ends only with the Jews. We must strongly stand against any anti-Semitic trends, for if not stopped, they'll cause harm to all of us, and we'll witness the downfall of our Judeo-Christian Western culture. Today, many people say there's no longer a need for a Jewish state, that Jews around the world no longer need a place of refuge. But anyone who has heard recent statistics about the worldwide rise in anti-Semitism would never make such a claim. The reality is that neo-Nazi groups and Nazi sympathizers are increasing around the world. Surveys show that over 1 billion people in the world harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Close to 50% believe that Jews have too much power in the business world, and 2/3 of the world's population has never heard of the Holocaust or believe the historic accounts of it are inaccurate. If there's one thing history has taught the Jewish people, a place they can go in time of need is essential, and Israel fulfills that role. But the need for a Jewish state is not limited to being only a refuge for Jews. Jewish tradition in Israel grants full rights for women and people of all races, faiths, and gender. This tradition is what often makes Israel among the first countries to send doctors and field hospitals to any place where a natural disaster occurs, utilizing their medical advances to save lives worldwide. Muslims, Christians, and people of every faith, or those of no faith, have the freedom to worship or not worship as they choose. For Muslims, the Jewish state goes out of its way to provide this freedom. For example, every Israeli university gives students the option of deferring their exams during the month of Ramadan. The Knesset calls off all sessions at sunset during Ramadan to ensure that Muslim Knesset members can break their fasts with the traditional iftar dinner. In an open and democratic manner, opportunities for education, advancement, and careers exist for all citizens in the Jewish state. Sadly, such rights and opportunities do not exist in any of the Muslim Arab states. For example, in neighboring Jordan, Jews cannot become citizens. And in Saudi Arabia, no non-Muslim can become a citizen. Saying that Israel must cease to exist as a Jewish state while accepting that other countries define themselves as Muslim is pure hypocrisy. In most of these countries, no rights exist for non-Muslims, women, and the LGBT community. Don't let yourself be manipulated by evil people with a wicked agenda. When the self-serving villains are in control, good people from all religions suffer. Muslims, Christians, and all people of conscience should stand proudly and show respect for a country that gives so much to the world in so many ways. Do your part, do your research, and do what you can to make a difference. Because what happens in Israel does affect us all. This is not just a Jewish or just an Israeli problem. This is a problem for all humanity, for each and every one of us who believe in freedom and human rights. Learn more about what you can do at pjtn.org.